All right, guys. Hi. Welcome back to Tip of the Tongue Talks for our second installment of Lestat de Leon Core. Oh, I didn't butcher it that time. I got it together. All right. But before we dive amazing apex creature that we love to hate, let's do our intro. All right. Hope y'all enjoy that. We were vibing to it. All right. So let's get right into it. So Lestat doesn't have a whole lot of fledglings that he's created. So we wanted to kind of unpack how his fledglings become after they're turned. So he has some sort of relationship, albeit maybe not a very long relationship with some of them beforehand. But I was interested to talk about what things are like after they have been turned. So let's start with Nikki, his friend Nikki. What Nikki becomes like once he's turned. Because we know that once we get the dark gift, we can't necessarily control how the person is gonna become afterwards. We know that Nikki is, from what we've read or heard about him, kind of a really nice guy, a really great friend to Lestat. Um, and he's basically traveled, I guess I'll say traveled the world with Lestat. Um, or at least they ran away to France together, I want to say, to go and be actors. So
Yes.
once he turns him, what does that relationship become?
Uh, at first it was fine. It was all gravy. All right, and then after a while, Nikki started having problems with the fact that he was a vampire. He wanted to be able to. Well, I think if I'm remembering correctly, the first issue that he had was he wanted to be able to show his new talents, his new gifts. But he was constantly reminded that he couldn't do that, and so he had a problem with that. And then after a while, instead of having a problem with that, he started to have a problem with Lestat himself, and at the
Mm.
same time, he started to have a problem with himself and the fact that he was a vampire.
Yeah, he Nikki, I remember them mentioning like this violin that was a very central piece to Nikki. So Nikki basically goes into this like deep depression because he's not happy about what he is. So Lestat kind of does this large gesture and goes and finds the violin for him and everything. Um, I can't remember how things ended. I think Nikki wanted to take the what is it the studio or whatever it is that they were running together. Like he wanted ownership of it.
You mean the theater of the vampires?
Yes,
Hmm.
yes, yes. So their relationship became very strained. Like once they were,
Mm.
don't say lovers, and then ultimately he resents him. Like his one of his very close friends that he really trusts, at the very least.
Yeah, I
So
think I think, and I don't remember this part from the book. And if someone remembers differently, please correct me. So it started off with basically Lestat was in love with Nikki. Uh, Nikki just thought of Lestat as his best friend or his brother or something to that effect. The only person that he could confide in.
Mm.
But Lestat had true feelings for Nikki, and I don't think that Nikki reciprocated those feelings.
Oh,
I
really?
think
Hmm.
I think he understood that there was a closer bond between the two of them because he's now a vampire, but I don't think that he wanted all that Lestat wanted from him.
Did they feel that way about each other
Ooh,
before?
that's deep.
Did they feel that way about each other before becoming vampires?
Definitely not from Nikki's perspective. Not from
Oh,
Nikki's perspective at all.
okay.
Hmm
So
Another part, since
Nikki
you
and
mentioned,
Lestat levitated.
Uh-huh. Like the way you turn that.
Yeah,
I
you know
need a
what he was
confirmation and clarification.
he didn't know what he was missing.
no, there was no levitation.
Really?
Oh, well,
Nope.
dang.
Mm-mm.
Well, how
Mm-mm.
we know it's love?
How we know? I don't know.
It,
That's
what,
how I measure
do you mean from
Seems
Nikki's
like
perspective?
agape love.
it. Not the brotherly love.
Well, that's a little pure for me.
A little who for you?
A little pure.
Pure.
Oh, okay. All right. You wanted some debauchery?
Yes.
Oh, pure.
No,
Um,
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. If anything, I think eventually Nikki started to have feelings for someone else, if memory serves. Might be wrong about that though.
Did Lestat kill him?
No, no.
he
Hold up. Wait a
will.
minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. He started to have feelings for Armand. Armand started to have feelings for Nikki, if
Hold
memory
on.
serves.
I'm not quite.
Armand a little pass around.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute, Armand.
But you know, Armand was like 17. Like he was
Mm-hmm.
really young.
Mm-hmm.
Um he I want to say he's older than Lestat, but he wasn't as strong as Lestat.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
This
Armand
is
seems like
good.
he
You
out to
said this
get.
is good.
Armand starting to seem like he out to get the stat.
Well, he was. He wasn't feeling Lestat. He
See,
was
Armand is saying Lestat is vetting them for him.
well see like
He'll take Lestat sloppy seconds. That's what it is.
Armand had the whole like coven of vampires or whatever and had them
Mm-hmm.
living in the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically exposed like Lestat kind of like exposes him like, no, why we are, above these humans. Like we basically are gods, really. Why should we be hiding in the shadows? And he essentially emasculates Armand in front of the whole coven and having them looking like, well, you know what,
That's right.
Armand?
That's right.
Why
Keep
are we
talking.
listening to you?
Keep
Oh, so
talking.
it's
The more you
personal.
talk, the more I remember.
Personal. He gonna pluck off every last one of Lestat's booze. That is. Oh,
Hmm.
I'm tripping. You gonna flex on me in front of a coven full of vampires? I'm gonna show you.
So okay. I'm remembering a little bit more. Okay, so Armand was not adapting to the change in times. And what was happening was these vampires, at one point, these vampires thought that they had certain rules, that they had to follow these certain rules. If they didn't follow these certain rules, they would die or something like that. I can't remember what they
Oh,
thought would
wow.
happen. But
Armand was burning them. Like,
yes, he was burning them so that it was kind of like their penance for doing whatever it was that they shouldn't
are
that they
you gonna
shouldn't
do
be
what you
doing.
They
want?
don't have a warning. They
I'm
just get
sorry.
burnt. They don't have
Yeah,
warning.
No, I'm
no,
gonna burn
I
you
mean
up.
you know what the laws are or the rules
That's
are.
why they did Claudia like that.
Correct.
Mm.
Correct. And so when
Oh,
When Lestat came along, not knowing what those rules were, see, he didn't know what those rules were, and they were telling him, "You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do. If you do this, then this will happen." And he was like, "What? You tripping? Like I've been doing this all this time, and nothing has happened."
I'm out
So
here.
that's
I
why
got my
Lestat
theater.
And
that's why
so
Lestat is a problem.
and
He ain't
so,
gonna
but hold up, but hold up. So Armand was basically like, I know this to be true. I know what you're saying, Lestat is true, but these vampires have lived this way, and I don't know if they can change. But Lestat comes and he's able to speak. He's a good speaker, and just like that, he turned them.
damn.
And that's partly why Armand said, "Okay, well then I need to leave."
Oh, so he can't stand Lestat.
I don't know. I mean, just the way that the book was written, I didn't get that vibe,
I
but
feel like he envies him.
all the facts, everything that you're saying, I can clearly see why you would feel that way.
I feel like it's more envy, you
Oh,
know, than hate, like outright hate. I feel like he's envious.
because he's able to change with the times and Armand can't.
I see that.
Look, and just that quick, you got my people to be like, "Oh, we gonna roll with Lestat.
Mm-hmm.
We like his ways better. We ain't gotta hide in the shadows."
Mm-hmm.
Who wouldn't? Lestat is fun. He is the epitome of debauchery
Yes,
and
yes.
opulence.
Yeah.
Spokesperson.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that he and Nikki's relationship became strained um, after the dark gift was bestowed upon him. So let's talk about y'all favorite Louis. So how does Louis respond to Lestat giving him the dark gift? Like, what does that relationship become?
The same as
Conflicted.
You say what?
Conflicted.
Conflicted. Okay. Say more.
Complicated. It's like a push and a pull.
It's a lot of pushing and pulling.
it's full of some bullshit. I tell you that.
You know what I like? I like a good Russell before sex.
You know,
A good Russell before sex. Let me flex these muscles real quick.
Ooh. And not just get done working out and then want it. Ooh.
Mm.
Yes, Lord. There is a God.
Yeah.
So, do we see any parallels between how Nikki responds and how Louis responds to the dark gift?
Yes. I think that as soon as Louis realizes he's dead and can't go into the light and can't be with his family, he instantly regrets it. He didn't know what he was signing
Yeah.
up for. He was just mad and angry and hurt that his brother died. He didn't know what he was doing. And lustful.
And lustful.
That's right.
Now, I do want to say this. The book does say this. Lestat did something that most other vampires did not do. Most vampires would make their fledglings without approval, without, it was like boom, all of a sudden you're a vampire and you're like, what, huh? What's happening? Lestat kind of he woos them, right?
Yeah. Seduces him.
Mm-hmm. Seduces.
But I
Oh, I
can't
like that.
point out. That's why. And see, I didn't think about the whole wooing aspect of it, and it is kind of juicy. I like that.
Well, let's say with the males, he does that with the males, not with the females.
It's like a courtship.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
He's
okay.
trying. He's trying. But, but similarly though, when he turned his mother, because Lestat turned his mother. When he turned his mother was dying. She was on her deathbed.
And she had consumption.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so he did that in a weak moment?
Yeah, well, she came and found him.
Oh.
She came. Yeah, she from what I remember researching, she came to him and asked him to turn her
Well,
because she was dying of
Okay, that's not well. Okay, I'll go with that. It's not what I remember, but I'll go with that.
what do you remember?
I remember like she did write him letters. I remember that she wrote him letters, and so he came. And when he saw her, of course, no one else was in the room, so it was just the two of them. And so he was telling her like she had figured something wasn't right. She just knew something wasn't right with him. Something was different about him. He was much more confident.
You know.
He was much more confident in himself where before he wasn't. And I think he started telling her in his way without being overly descriptive. And if memory serves, he gave her a choice. Is this what you want?
and she was the first person that he made.
Yes.
That's interesting. Your mom is your first fledgling.
How did he learn how to make the fledgling?
He just remembered what Magnus did and
So
did
did
that.
Claudia, but it didn't work. Is it because she was so small?
Say that one more time.
I said so did Claudia, but it didn't work. It wasn't because she was so small.
Yeah. According to the books, Yes.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna pose this next question as we go into our first clip. Um, what does Lestat feel the point of life is? What is the whole point of life?
Every human thought boils down to three things. I want food, I want sex, I want to go home. You see that man right there? I want you to peel away every sound until you find his heartbeat. Hold the heartbeat. You hear his lungs leaking and flooding air. His mind is just another bodily sound.
Day and a half since my last meal. Church says pray about it. Lord can't make me no food.
I want food. Shall we?
It's not cheating with a woman, because I can't get pregnant.
I want sex.
This town and be somebody.
That's not. I'll give it a moment.
Well, I'll just go home.
Hola.
Wait, I saw a little flash just now of his house.
Yes.
So that's why I posed the question, like, what does Lestat really think the whole point of life is? And the way he breaks it down, would you agree? Like, is that where we live? Is that how we really process things as humans?
That's an interesting question. I saw the clip, and the first time that I saw it, I was like, "Oh wow, that's interesting." I don't know if I would have simply boiled it down to that. However, I mean, because you also want to feel like you belong, right? And sometimes it might be you want to belong to a group or you want to belong to someone. And I think that that's important too. I mean, that's an extension of love.
Okay.
And so I think, while those things, I want sex, I want food, I want to go home. Like two of those three, that's like basic needs, right? And so I don't know if that's the point of life, but they're definitely basic needs.
Okay. Brittany, your thoughts?
Oh, and I want to add before she goes, in
I
the
agree with.
balcony, in the balcony scene, he tells Louis, he meaning Lestat, he tells Louis he fears being lonely. And so, that's a real thing to consider.
We're gonna come back to that in the
Oh,
last clip. No,
oh,
that's
okay.
okay. That's okay. I'm glad you said that. Brittany says she agrees.
Yeah, I agree with you. When you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, your basic needs are like food, shelter, a home, shelter, home, and a job, a ways of making income so you can have food, right? But then when you think about that next step where you're trying to have a hobby or companionship at that point because your basic needs are met, I think we have to think about that. Like when you're going to be your highest level of yourself, there's levels that you need to meet. I don't think that they discussed all of those levels. I don't, he just said the basic needs, so I agree with you, Jermaine.
Bear of Man, your thoughts. You're on mute, dear.
I think that the whole time I've been aiming. Um, I think that that's correct. Like, because I know next for me is security. After but I guess is security a part of home?
Could be argued.
Do you think security is considered part of the whole home thing?
So I guess for a vampire, a home probably might be secondary because those things would probably come a bit easier for a vampire. You know what
Probably.
I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
so that kind of falls into, I mean, just still sticking with what you said, love,
It's
security, love.
it's definitely part of my needs. my core group of
Me
needs.
too.
I feel like there's this oversimplification by Lestat of humans because it's like you're a little far removed from your humanity now. So how you see them is inferior.
Yeah.
So y'all really aren't that deep. This is all you basically need or think about. This is how I see you, and I can read your thoughts. So this is how I see you. That's it. I haven't been human in quite some time, so you all really quite bore me. Except for
Yeah.
those of you that have these musical talents or what have you, or this and whatnot.
You have
Otherwise, a lot of
funny.
are just food for me.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
Right.
I do too.
All right. So as we're about to go into our next clip, ponder the question: is Lestat more of a sadist, or is he really just a realist?
I chose you. I have waited, Louis. I have patiently waited in vain for you to love me as I love you. Just say it. Say at the start, I am never going to love you. It would help me a great deal to hear that from your lips. Your quivering, hateful lips. Call me. Anything for you.
All right, so that was not the question for that clip. So I'm gonna pivot to the actual question that goes with this clip. So,
Okay.
from what we saw saw in this clip, is Lestat truly incapable of love, and what does he fear most? So Jermaine kind of cracked it a little while back. Is he truly incapable?
Hold on. I could always go in and edit, right?
Okay.
So I can play I can play what needs to be played so that we can actually respond to
Okay.
that clip.
Okay, I was just gonna end with that one. But that's okay.
So do you want me to play it?
No, that's fine. Yes.
Okay.
I think it's like Jermaine said. I think Lestat is really afraid of loneliness and isolation. I think that he's an extrovert that thrives on energy from other humans and vampires. I think that he needs to be loved and adored by someone or something in order to feel fulfilled. I think that's something that from the abuse of his father, that he's constantly looking for that acceptance and he needs to feel loved even though he doesn't know how or doesn't have the capability. He feels like he does have the tools to love, but he just can't get love back and he just doesn't understand. I think the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over again and expecting a different response. And when we look at the correlation between Nikki and Louis, they have so many similarities. So to see that he's basically repeating himself, but this time he's like trying to do more of a courtship or wooing of Louis and still getting the same results, he's like bashing his head against the wall, like, why can't you just love me? I did everything that I should do, and you just still can't love me. That would make my life so much easier if you would just say that, you know?
Wow.
Yeah. What,
Jermaine.
what what was your question again?
So for this particular clip, the question was: is Lestat truly incapable of love, and what does he fear most?
Ooh. Is he truly incapable of love? I don't think he's incapable of love. I think he's not paying attention to what the people he says he loves. He's not paying attention to what it is they're saying they need from
They
him. And I think instead what he's doing is he's basically saying, no, I've lived this life, and trust me, it is what it is. But you also need to understand that, just like, and I guess I'm talking to Lestat right now. Lestat needs to understand that he went through a process, and you can't short circuit a process that it takes. And Armand told him this. Armand told him this. Several vampires told him this. There's a process. Armand said some die early. They kill themselves. They literally kill themselves because they don't want to be vampires, right? Um, and then you have others who do want to be vampires. Those who want to be vampires, you don't want to be with them anyway. The ones who go through that process,
They probably crazy.
but the ones who go through that process of not wanting to be a vampire but still living, when they come on the other side of that, those are the ones who are worth being with. What he's not realizing is that the people that he's choosing, they haven't gone through that process.
So because he's been around so long, he wants to expedite the process.
And so it was interesting what Brittany said. Brittany said that Lestat is an introvert, is an extrovert. But if you read the book, Lestat was actually an introvert on the highest level. He was an introvert. Becoming a vampire made him an
Ooh.
extrovert.
Yeah. I mean, he was treated in such a way, I'm just gonna hide in the shadows.
His first friend in life was Nikki. His brothers, his sisters hated him. His dad hated him. His mother was the only one who gave him any type of close to affection. And
Yeah.
he says in the book, if it weren't for her, he either would have left or he would have killed himself.
Because
That's sad.
he was content with just living out his days in the monastery. You know,
And that is so sad. They got one little window, a cat.
I don't think that
They eat like mush.
mhm.
That shit sad. It's a sad, lonely. They gotta have the little ball. Oh, those are fryers. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Lestat style. He too sexy for that. Can you imagine his sexy self in a monastery? Mm-mm, mm-mm.
what
The
you got
world
eat.
deserves Lestat.
Oh, I'm grateful.
Well, I don't think that Lestat is incapable of love. I think I to piggyback off of what Jermaine said, I think that it's his selection. He chooses people, and I hate to say it, but to quote the wise Beyonce for
Hmm.
Lestat, why won't you love me,
The
baby?
theologian.
Ooh, why won't you love me when I make me so damn easy to love? That's how.
Yes.
So I don't think that he's incapable of love. I think his stories are picking up when he's having a reaction to the ones that he picked. Haven't we all been in a bad relationship where we just knew this was the one? Like, oh, I'm gonna give him this choice. He gonna choose me. He gonna pick me. He gonna love me. He fine too. Louis was fine. You know what I'm saying? He was choosable too. Like he was fucking fine. So you doing all of that. You loving on him. You buying him gifts. You're making him churn so he could be happy. You doing everything. You playing pappy and you ain't even trying to have no kids.
At all. And sign
But
up
you
for this.
do all of this shit. And what happened?
Still don't
Louis,
want.
he still don't want him. But Louis didn't know what he wanted when he said yes.
Louis was all over the place.
And Louis was just, he was also into women. Louis was a little, he turned, he was all the way on his spectrum after the fact, but before that, he was still confused about that. Can you picture like and me asking you, a man that knows who he is, what he wants to be with a person who don't never know?
Well, another thing to consider, I guess the biggest thing that Louis didn't like and didn't want from Lestat was the fact that Lestat was so sadistic. He couldn't get with that. You know what I'm
He
saying?
wasn't human for 150 years already.
Say that again.
He wasn't human for 150 years already.
Ooh. Yeah, right. And I guess what Louis was saying was, I'm not ready for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just not where I am. And if you read the book Lestat, that's exactly where Lestat was. He didn't want to do that. He didn't want to kill. He didn't want to, like, nope. He didn't want to do it. And that's part of that's how some of the vampires die. They don't want to kill. Lack of blood.
I think Lestat is the epitome of
Hey guys,
looking for love in all the wrong places.
Mm.
Like, I
picking
know,
these nice guys.
huh?
I said picking these nice guys.
They're always the
Well,
worst.
that's true.
Um, I just I feel like Lestat gets jaded. Like he has this idea of people that he selects, and it just goes all left once you turn them, because you want them to be your companion, and it's just not what you had. It goes beyond, or opposite anyway, of your ideal. So Lestat gets a bad rep, like, oh my God, his love is toxic, and it is, or whatever. He don't know how to love, but I'm like, I think he does know how to love. He doesn't know who to love.
Mm.
So
I just don't think we should call him sadistic when he makes light of his situation. He's a vampire and he's chosen to enjoy it. He was made against his will and he's chosen to enjoy it. Although he didn't have a choice of him being created and into that, he has choice on how to live the next 100 and 300 and 400 years. I mean, would you want to be like your maker who's like, look, man, I'm tired. This is what
say, dog, listen,
State
I'm
all
about
this.
to be out. This
Four
what I need
rules you really need to worry about. Don't go outside in the sun. Don't be no dead people because you're gonna be off the tips. Okay, you ain't gonna be sick. You get a little sick.
to. You
A
will get
stake
your
through
book
the
and get a
heart and a
cold
cut off of
back.
your head. That's gonna do it. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show you how to do it in just a sec. But before we get to that, you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah,
Mhm.
make a person. You know what I'm saying? Remember what I did. Didn't even say that. Don't tell you nothing about them. Don't tell
Magnus,
you
that's the real
nothing
sadist.
that Claudia and Lewis are looking for. Won't give you none of that. And then you meet these fledglings who want a history lesson. Man, I gave you the greatest gift in the world to be immortal and to have fun and to kill people and have power over your own life. And you finna be rich. Like, what else you want?
Yeah, y'all need to read the book. Y'all really need to read the book because Louis is Lestat. Lestat picked himself when he picked Louis.
Mm.
He did. He picked himself.
Unaware, completely unaware, just out here.
He was a nice guy once.
Yes.
Hmm. But
Lestat
look
inherited
what
Magnus's
150
fortune.
years will do to you and some trauma.
Right. And it goes back to what I said earlier. It like he had to Lestat had to go through that process. And it's the same process that Louis needs to go through.
He just ain't got no patience for it.
That's it.
See, that's not fair. You
Uh,
can't say you love me, but don't want to be here for my unhappy times. Okay. I still feel like he reacts like Beyonce though. Why don't you love me?
he's a drama queen. He is. It's very, very emotional. Very, very emotional. But
It's
all
that
right.
look in his eyes when he walks away after he's done something good, and then they like completely shun him like it's not good enough, and he got that piercing blue eyes, like really, you know what I'm saying? I feel like we're gonna do something fucked up. What's your crazy now? What you gonna do? Tell the word. I like Lestat. You know, I like a
I
bad
love him.
bitch.
I absolutely love
He
him.
does everything to come into my head that I do. You see
And
it when he dropped Louis punk ass? He knew
listen,
he wasn't gonna die.
when you have time, go back and find Anne Rice talking about Lestat
Okay.
and how she feels about Lestat and her relationship to that character and how he developed. Like, yeah, just
I can't wait for the summertime because to catch up on this reading list I'm concocting with y'all. I ain't gonna be able to. I got quite an extensive list.
you say you are excited to point that out, sight. All right. So as we go into this next and final clip, is Lestat a sadist or is he simply just a realist? Does he know something about humans and just sees them as they are?
Every human thought boils down to three things. I want food.
It's okay.
I,
That's the one that's episode 3, 2 minutes and 33 seconds. Did I put it in the wrong order?
no, I don't think you did. I think okay, I see it.
We can eat animals and be okay. Rats, cats, cattle.
Is okay what you desire, Louis? Shall we walk the night as the gods of easily attainable dreams?
I desire blood as much as you do. But I wonder, should we be more selective?
What? Only eat redheads, the humorous? Define your terms.
The worst of them.
And how would we go about determining that?
Use our powers. Read their minds.
Hunting is pure instinct. Reason is a set of leg irons.
The ones you admire. The poets, composers, the thoughtful man who designed this park you love so much. Shouldn't we spare them the randomness of our killing?
Every one of them is capable of abomination, even the ones worthy of admiration. Shakespeare, Brahms, this naturalist that fogs your mind.
Got it off your bookshelf.
Toss them into circumstance. Whisper to them their Lord God and Savior is not listening, and you will see all kinds of depravity.
So is Lestat on to something? Like, because he gets this rap of being a sadist or, just immoral, wicked, all these things. But with that whole conversation between he and Louis, is he really a sadist or is he just a realist?
I think he's a realist. He likes what he likes. He wants that real thing. He wants what he wants. He likes what he likes. He enjoys the chase. He enjoys hunting and being the predator.
I feel like it's real easy to call somebody a sadist when they get mad. I mean, who doesn't act up a little bit when they're upset? But I think that he is a realist. I agree with Brittany because he's been around a long time and he's been continuing to be failed. I mean, can you imagine 150 years of just giving up on the human existence? Like they're gonna I just missed it. You know what I'm saying? This is the kindness of man that they were talking about. Uh, 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 uh. There it go again.
Like
Like
he
I
said, he quote and I quote, mention to them that their God is no longer listening, and you'll see all kinds of depravity.
yeah, because play baby, you bring God into it. Riots will ensue. What movie was I watching recently? You cannot trust a heretic.
You can't
What
trust.
movie was that? You can't. Is am I saying it right? Not a heretic. Yeah. Did I say it right? Wasn't that the serpent? Serpent queen?
Oh,
No, a zealot. You cannot, not a heretic. You cannot trust a religious zealot
Oh yeah, fanatic.
because
That's true.
of their reaction to their faith.
It's a mental illness, but
It's like
a
when
zealot, absolutely.
I saw, and the religious zealots are the people who hard up. Like we know Christians now that'll, this is wrong, that is wrong. We know the things that they're doing wrong every day, but we're just looking like,
It's
well,
kind
we
of like
absolve.
what is it? Mary, Bloody Mary, the zealot.
Yes, that's from the Serpent Queen. It's like she was
Mentally ill.
insane.
She's crazy.
She was insane. I was like, girl, you can't just go around killing people because they Protestant.
But she did though.
She did that.
Kill you just
Off with their head.
She
just
said,
'cause
I'm Catholic, big dog. But that's what people talk about. But I mean, today, when you think about it, some of the people who believe in some of those, specific laws in their religion who are willing to die behind it, some people see that as being a zealot as well. So I see what he means. You say something about that God and watch what happens. They gonna swear they doing it in God's name, and God ain't actually not now one of y'all to do nothing. Now, no. Ain't nobody asked you to blow nothing up, but you wouldn't do it though. Talking about me. I ain't told you that. I ain't told you that.
Jermaine, your thought?
I'm sorry. What's the question again?
Is Lestat a realist or is he a sadist?
Oh, I think he's a realist. And it has a whole lot to do with what everyone has said before. He's lived this life. He understands it. He hasn't seen any evidence of a God. And as a result, hey, this is your reality now. Your reality is that you are a vampire. You're going to die a vampire, right? And so you must do what vampires do. And that's just it.
I think he kept it all the way 100 with Louis. I think he is the epitome of a realist. Like, okay, Louis, you want to walk the earth as the god of easily attainable dreams. Like, okay, you woke up, that's what you decided you want to do today. Just be basic. Okay, listen. You have these
You want
next
peace on earth. You want peace on earth and shit.
Lou, if you don't go sit your Lou, if you don't go set your simple ass down somewhere.
Don't you think we did this a long time ago if we could?
Lou, you only want to kill redheads? Is that what you want? Like, okay, listen. Everybody is capable of doing horrible things.
Yeah.
It just depends on the situation. So
Exactly.
like, yeah, Lestat might look like the personification of the devil, beautiful and always has these great ideas that in the end somehow screw over you. However, he's very real. Like, no, I've seen these human beings, like you have all said, like, okay, over time, they are garbage. They're terrible people. Enjoy being what you are. You are a hunter. Enjoy hunting.
Apex predator.
Apex predator. I just like saying that. Doesn't that sound great? Just I'm top tier out here, okay? I'm a big dog. I'm a Great Dane, okay? I'm up here looking like a horse, a stallion, a Clydesdale. Yes, at the top.
You so silly.
Big dog. Oof, oof.
You on that brick wall?
Yeah,
She's a brick.
I was like, brick wall. Okay.
All right. Well, guys, that has brought us to the end of this second installment of Lestat de Lioncourt. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. Good night, people.